Hello, everybody, and welcome back.
We've been here.
I got up.
Well, we've been here, but you guys haven't.
That's true. It's been a
Yeah.
week since we last talked.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to part 2 of Setting Boundaries as a Love Language. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Maddie.
Your LPCs, your licensed professional counselors, and this is Therapists Unhinged.
Wee! So unhinged.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of that. What is the wee piggy going all the way home? Someone needed to set a boundary with him.
Really?
Yeah, it was a commercial.
How did you do that so quick? That was a great connection.
Thank you.
Oh my
I was
God.
like, it's the one someone needed to set a boundary.
That's amazing.
Don't mind me.
Go look it up.
But welcome back again. I know that we talked last time on obviously all the ways that boundaries have been challenging for us to set, the ways they maybe show up when they're ignored, or kind of what has been like the symptoms or signs that you need to set boundaries. And then also kind of society not necessarily fostering boundary setting. I think we also talked on our own disclosures of our struggles with boundaries.
Which is why we're so sweaty.
Yeah, I'm a little less sweaty now. But I'm like, why the hell am I wearing a long sleeve shirt?
I know, we put on sweaters.
I just like wanted to feel blanketed, I guess. But today we're going to take it to the other side. So this will be a little bit more fun for us as we get to kind of dive through skills with you guys.
This was the side as therapists we could not stop ourselves from trying to get to.
We're like, solution. What's the solution?
We can't leave them like
Show
this.
me a side. That's why we're only you should be having this 1 week later. Please do not listen to this episode. But I guess if you can hear that, you are listening to the episode. So welcome back, and way to be diligent.
Yes. Thank you for coming back and sitting on this couch with us and listening to us ramble about things that we love.
It really is, like I said, this is going to be the fun part for us. So
We're excited.
How to set boundaries and how to honor your new love language.
Which it is a love language. Saying no is a love language.
Yeah, and one that you need to learn for yourself, because I think that's when it comes down to, we define boundaries as a way of talking about like what you need, advocating for what you want and what you don't want in a dynamic, a relationship, in a workspace. It's listening to your own well-being, kind of retouching on what that definition is for yourself, but knowing that it's so layered. It's emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, romantic, social. So there's so many layers to your well-being, and you have abilities and capabilities to set boundaries in all those avenues. So today we're going to explore that more with you. And this will be a little bit shorter of an episode just because it's kind of just the solutions now.
Right. Part 2. So bring your bouncer back in the room. If you listen to the first part of this segment, if you haven't, go back, listen to it so you can learn about the bouncer.
Refresh.
Yeah. Bring your bouncer into the room because we got some learning to do. Do you want me to start with the triangle?
Yeah, we can definitely start with
Okay.
We talked on the triangle last time, so now we're actually going to give you that content.
What that is.
If you didn't already Google it, because I know y'all are curious.
Yeah,
Unhinged.
which we love curiosity, so that's great. But I had mentioned the Karpman's drama triangle. And the reason I brought it up because a major solution to this triangle is boundaries. But I did want to give a brief, just really quick explanation of what this triangle is. And I guarantee you, we all are in this triangle many times in our life.
Yeah.
So essentially it is a triangle that we get stuck in, 3 roles that we will get stuck in. The roles are the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. So think about that like a triangle. 99.9% of arguments is a race to victimhood. We all want to be the victim, right? We all want to be the person that was wronged, especially in boundary settings.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take, obviously, too much time talking about this. I learned about this at the treatment center I work at, and it's a huge part of what I practice, and kind of helping throw people into this triangle to walk through it and figure out how to get out of it.
Yeah, and see, I think where they are lying too, because I think, or not lying, but like where do they fall under?
So I guess we could give a quick example. Should I bring back the banana example?
Here we are.
Okay, so let's just have an argument, you and me, about this banana, and kind of like, so Taylor, let's pretend that I put this banana on the floor. Okay, and you slipped on that banana.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do you think you would start in that triangle?
Ow, probably the victim. Yeah, I
Right.
definitely think I would fall, hurt myself, be like, ow, like what the heck was that? Like, how could you do this to me, Maddie? you, you know I'm clumsy.
Right? How could
And
you put that banana there?
how could you?
Right? And so then knowing me and my people pleasing, I would hop right into that rescuer.
Mm-hmm.
I would go into that rescuer role. And I would try to like fix it and be the savior and which is that role can be a little.
I typically fall, I think, into the rescuer
Yeah,
role
I do
in a
too.
moment. So
Yeah. So I would go into the rescuer, right? And, then maybe Taylor would be like playing more of the victim and talking more about being a victim. And then maybe I might get mad.
Yeah.
And maybe I might go over
to
to persecutor and say, you know what? You're so stupid. You fell on the banana. You should have seen the banana was right there.
Yeah.
That's your fault, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know where you would go back to. Maybe you'd be victim again.
Maybe stay in the victim, or maybe
Yeah.
jump to persecutor too, because that's like, hey, like you're getting defensive and I'm maybe like wanting to kind of battle back. But
Right.
what we're kind of showing you right now is the way that certain conflicts kind of take on and the roles you kind of shift and ebb and flow into. But all three of these are unhealthy
Yes.
spaces to be in.
And you will and have and you might presently be stuck in this triangle with somebody in your life. And I always ask my patients, like when they're in this triangle and we're going through it, because we'll stay in there for a minute. And I'm like, would you like to stay here, or do you want to move out of it?
Yeah.
And by that point, they're like, get me out of this. This is awful. And I'm like, great, here's the solution.
Yeah.
So there are four ways we can get out of this crappy little triangle. No offense to Cartman. Great triangle. Thank you for creating that.
Well, there's like different perspectives, I think, for both of them. Like, yeah.
I love it. I love this visualization, and just this triangle has helped me a lot to learn about myself. And anyway, the four ways we get out of it: ownership, surrender, perspective, and boundaries.
There you go.
So using one example this whole episode, right? Like let's use the boundaries example of how that would help us get out of that banana situation.
Yeah.
So do you want to try to set a boundary with me, or?
Like, hey, I'm usually very clumsy, and I noticed that you put the banana on the floor instead of throwing it in the trash. And so typically I like to make sure my space is kind of clean, so I don't hurt myself, because I have a tendency to do that. So I would appreciate if next time you don't leave the banana on the floor, like let's just throw it away so I don't get hurt and something doesn't happen further.
Okay. And then maybe if I'm healthy, I'm going to jump over into the perspective or the ownership, and I'm going to be able to say like, hey, I own that I freaking threw that peel on the ground. And I can see from your perspective how frustrating that must have been. Right. And then voila, we're out of it. Right. Now, if we're unhealthy, then we're just going to stay in the triangle. Right. And so the cool part about this, and the reason we're talking about boundaries, is that's totally cool. If I want to be a little poo-poo head and stay in the triangle, Taylor just gets to hop out and stay with her boundaries.
Yeah.
Right? And that's okay. You don't have to take both people with you.
Yeah.
You can leave one behind if they're not willing and ready to
make those changes for you.
Which
And
is-
be like, hey, okay, Maddie's no longer in my spaces.
Right, because she won't put
leaves
her banana pills
She leaves
away.
her banana pills everywhere. Maybe I
Right.
just go to a different space with Maddie, or maybe I'm taking those steps. I'm like, maybe I just meet Maddie in a space where there's no bananas. And then it's like, okay, nope, even there she brought a banana. And
She keeps throwing them on the ground.
She's freaking DK in the
Right.
Donkey Kong in this bitch.
And I'm throwing the bananas. I'm not respecting your boundaries.
And then I'm like, okay, this relationship needs to be looked at. And I need to make a decision.
Yeah.
Termination mode.
Termination. So basically very, very silly, but very applicable to what we're talking about.
Yeah. I think to the point I will say with this triangle is I talked a little bit about that perspective that you talked about. I think with each one, whether you notice you fell with the persecutor, I think there's a flip side, because, you have strengths. Like we talked about, we both kind of lean into the rescuer.
Yeah.
But the rescuer is the enabler. So the rescuer needs to flip to someone who is going to be more, hey, I'm reflecting back. I am going to be kind of this therapist for you, but it's at the same time I'm holding you accountable. Right. Accountability partner. Let that rescuer be an accountability partner. And then the victim is someone who is maybe just sitting in their despair, sitting in this thing, or maybe it becomes like the healer, like the healed, like where it's like saying someone who is going through their emotions kind of like leans into them, and then can kind of move themselves out of that.
Right.
And then the persecutor can just be that assertive, I don't know. What do you feel like
Yeah,
that
just
one?
like a strong, assertive presence that sets boundaries,
Yeah.
right? Like you take that persecute. I love that you said this. That because if I were to talk about a whole episode on the Cartman's Triangle,
Yeah.
there's you switch roles,
Yeah.
which is exactly what you're talking
Okay,
about.
yeah.
Where it's like you take this thing that's unhealthy and you turn it into a healthy role.
Yeah.
Which I love that. So I'm really glad that you
Because
mentioned
we
that.
do fall into these things, and we're not saying to just not fall into them, because we recognize that, but there is that perspective shift. Because I thought, I was like, oh my, kind of teaching with this.
Right.
I was like,
dang,
I think there's opposite roles.
there is.
Oh, look at me. I remember.
Yes, you did. I'm actually really impressed because this is like fresh on my mind because we do this at the treatment center I work at, but you just straight up showed me your knowledge base.
Hey, when it's in there, it's in there. I like quote movies all the time. So if something brings back, I like
I love that.
you
Well,
keep getting those supplements in the morning for that memory.
what supplements are
boost.
you taking?
I was like, shout out. I think it's like called Array, ARRAE.
Oh, I have that
Yeah,
brand.
Array.
But something
Yeah.
like that. But
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know. What
I got like this bundle. Shout out. I got a bundle for like some stuff. Like it's like these gummies, and then it's like a mood, like and memory boosters.
I want the memory one because it works well for.
Yeah, I was like, I liked it. So there you go. Maybe that has something to
Alright.
do with it.
I love that. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed learning about the Cartman's Triangle. And now we're gonna help you kind of like dive deeper into the way out, right?
Yeah.
The
Kind of,
boundaries.
like you said, those ways to kind of identify it. We did that a lot of work in the last session, kind of what it looks like. And then it's maybe seeing like, hey, where do I lie on this role, on these kind of conflict moments? And then how do I shift that? That's how you shift that, where you're saying, I lie here more. This is where I'm needing to kind of pivot that to.
Right.
And that's one beautiful example of a skill that you can kind of just acknowledge. I will say too, the boundaries, ownership, surrendering perspective. When I hear surrender, I think of acceptance. And acceptance, I think, plays a huge role in boundary setting, and then also having boundaries set with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily agreeing. I think I touched on it last time, where we can validate things, but we don't want to validate unhealthy behaviors. So we want to validate emotions. We want to set a boundary for a behavior that's happening, or we set a boundary for an action, and then we kind of go through that and see how the feedback is from that.
Right.
But there is an acceptance of not necessarily agreeing, but accepting what's going on and freeing yourself from that and then establishing a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing, if you're hearing feedback of you need a boundary set with you, not necessarily always agreeing is okay, but you can accept that you have hurt someone, or you can accept that you like it's something's going on.
Beautiful. Yeah, like you can reject, and I don't even want to use that word, but you can disagree with somebody's maybe perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And say like, maybe that's not the reality or scenario I remember.
I will say in today's climate, it's hard to disagree with people. I don't think it's accepted to disagree a lot. And I think I can say we see that.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
But this is where the change happens.
Yes.
So it's okay to disagree.
It is absolutely okay. And it's absolutely okay to leave somebody else in that triangle if they are unwilling to step out of it with you. If they are unwilling to change, you do not have to continue to play that rescuer role or enable the behavior. You can leave. And I think that's a really hard thing for people to hear, especially with loved ones.
Yeah.
And we're about to kind of maybe mosey on over into navigating some pushback.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, I think, again, touched on this in the other episode. Very important to watch the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
I will say you're going to come into encounters, family, friends, relationships that are going to have this pushback. If you've been a certain way for so long, people are going to be like, what is this?
Lots of pushback.
Yes, and even more so. If you're making these changes in adulthood and you've been a certain way with your family, there is going to be navigating that, and that's going to be hard, plain and simple. And I think that's why I sometimes see this a lot, where we don't have boundaries set with people that we've had like in our lives a long time, but we have new relationships and we're so good at it because we've like gotten to this like healthy dynamic and we know what we want to find with people, but we still have these unchecked boundaries. So we're like over here creating like this, fostering a healthy space, but we still have people pulling out our energy from the other side that we're kind of avoiding.
Yep.
And I will say, I see you and I understand that, but everything you're doing for your work over here is gonna be in vain because your energy is still depleting. You're not showing up fully authentically.
Yeah.
So navigating that pushback is one, stop avoiding.
I love that you brought up avoidance
Yeah.
because I see that so
Yeah.
much in this climate, this culture, just society, and you kind of named it. We totally understand why.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's quite a few people I would just rather not disagree with because it is hard to almost like hold your own,
Yeah.
right? And like, I don't want to bring in all the words that we talked about on episode 2.
Yeah.
But like there are a lot of people that will manipulate and blame shift and then it makes you feel crazy. But the encouragement we want to give you today is stick to it.
Yes,
Stick to
will.
it.
I think there's like a few different things I say, but one of my favorites is the broken record statement. So you're going to have certain people who come in and have an encounter with you, and you're going to get that pushback. And sometimes we kind of can shift what we say, but stay to what you're saying, stay to your need. So having kind of a blanket statement, maybe someone brings up a kind of a why moment, and then you add an example, but go back to that blanket statement of that need. I guess an example would be of this of, hey, I don't like yelling and cussing when I'm talking. And if so, I'm so sorry that you're on this podcast because I cuss. I was like, shit. See? But no, I think if you think of like in a dynamic in a relationship where it's just like, hey, don't yell and don't cuss at me. I don't appreciate that in our communication. It makes me feel invalidated. It makes me feel undervalued. I have past trauma with this, where it shuts me down, and I'm needing us to not have that in this interaction. And if they're like, why? Like, I always talk to you like this and everything. Hey, I'm needing, us to not cuss or yell in this conversation because it's emotionally activating me. And I'm trying to be better about setting boundaries with you so I can communicate better with you. Right. So there was that kind of like that why, but you are continuing to restate. Now, if they're continuing to come at you with it, broken record. I don't feel comfortable with this conversation when you're yelling and cussing. I don't feel comfortable with this conversation when you're yelling and cussing. That. I need to take a pause. Right. And you continuing with that need and that want, staying calm and collected is another part of it, though, that I'm going to say is hard to do when you have someone who's in maybe a fight or flight or defensive mode.
Persecutor role,
a narcissist. But that broken record will be you standing up for yourself in a way you haven't. And me saying that is showing you that there's something empowering in that. And you will be gaining respect, not just for yourself, but from the person in front of you, even if they're not showing that to you.
Even if they're upset. I love that. Yeah. And to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight and idea on where to start with a boundary, I love to tell or kind of guide people through the statement of what I am willing to do and what I am no longer willing to do. So in that example that you kind of gave is like, what I am willing to do is have a conversation with you and work through this problem. What I'm unwilling to do is be a part of a conversation where I feel attacked and berated.
Yeah.
Right. And so now we're not, any type of boundary you set shouldn't be saying like, my boundary is that you do this, you do that, you change. Because again, that's trying to control somebody else. My boundary has to be something only I have power over and can control. So in that situation, this person isn't stopping with this berating, this cussing, this yelling. Well, then I'm just going to step out of the room. Yeah. Because I've told the broken record. You've said it. You've stated your boundary. I'm going to hold to my boundary. I'm going to escort myself out of this
behavior
room.
Isn't changing. Yes. What is my next step for my boundary? Where do I need to go to protect my peace, to protect my well-being?
And and the person may hate that, and they may have a really terrible response to that. Yeah. And again, that's them in their little triangle. Yeah. And they can stay there. We don't want you to. I would love for you to come with me out of this, but I'm not going to stay in the triangle with you at the expense of like my happiness and well-being.
And I think too, like that point we kind of talked about, there's a level of it is so hard, but what is on the other side is empowerment. So that's why I just want to push the importance of this, because I know I touched on the authenticity that you will be living in is going to flourish you so much further than staying in that boundaryless relationship or boundaryless dynamic. Yeah. Because I think one of the best things I've always seen with people who are in tune with their values, in tune with their identity, in tune with their wants and their needs, are the most compassionate, the most sincere, and the most authentic living people. They like are well-rounded. And I think if that's what you're needing to do, you need to start with being true to yourself and true to your wants and true to your nervous system and true to your
your
needs.
nervous system. I love that.
Oh yeah,
right?
my body guru over here.
I love that body. Yes. Body, yada, 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 yada. Yeah. I love,
That's
the
unhinged
nervous
of us
system.
to just twerk
Right.
on the green couch.
Well, it was authentically giving my nervous system permission to do what it needed.
So stop sweating.
Yeah, just stop. That'd be great. I'm still sweating. I think it's just because I'm not wearing like long pants, and this couch just like
No, we're not even gonna talk.
it sucks out the trauma from my body onto this couch.
Absorbing it all. But I will go back to, because you talked about the you and the control. Another thing, you you won't be able to accomplish the things that you are wanting to do if it is done incorrect. So setting a boundary, it's super important the way you approach it.
Yes.
And I will say the you and I statements, I will probably bring this up constantly because it's a part of communication. But when you start with I feel, I need this, you're expressing yourself. But the thing you need to stop doing this is control.
Yep.
I need is reflection and vulnerability.
Yep.
And obviously we are needing kind of a shift in dynamics and shift in kind of behaviors for ourselves, though. This person has been operating this way. And if you are blaming or shaming, it's gonna even more so inflict that defensive person in them. Because when you start with those you statements, it's going to just immediately bring up and activate that because people feel like they need to defend themselves. But if you come from a vulnerable space, I'm not saying it won't be met with defensiveness, but there is a level that people can tend to meet you at a little easier when we start with that. So just having those little tweaks in the way we approach, I feel, but you can even say, you can make an I statement, a you statement. So where is it coming from? If you're trying to control someone's behavior or manipulate someone to stop their behavior instead of just owning this behavior has, made you uncomfortable and just saying like how you're actually feeling about this engagement, that's where I'm just saying is the difference, because we don't get to control people's behaviors. We just control how we react and how we feel about it. And again, that's the difference whenever it's setting boundaries. It's to help improve a situation and a dynamic between you two. It's not to change a person's behavior or change who they are. And what you're saying is, hey, you can yell and cuss over there. Like,
or this pillow.
Yeah,
Please,
like
here.
it's just like, hey, no more yelling and cussing. That person can do that other places. You're just reflecting that in this space, this is not where you can't move through a conversation effectively.
Yeah.
And that's where that person can decide like, hey, I'm not going to do it here, and let them decide that.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up the intentionality behind it, because if you're not being intentional about, how you're setting your boundaries or how you're taking ownership, right? You hop right back into the triangle, because I could just as easy, if someone's yelling at cussing at me, I could easily be like, hey, shut the hell up, bitch.
Shut up.
You can't talk to me like that. This is my boundary. And then it's like, wait, now I'm just the persecutor there with them, right? Like now I've just immediately jumped back into the very thing I'm trying to get away from.
Well, I think one of my teachers always talked about it. You talk about the triangle, but I always call it like a dance. Like, and I was like, is your dance toxic with this person? Like, are you getting pulled back, sucked back into this dance that you had? And there's going to be moments where you'll slip up. I will say you could set a boundary. You did so good. You used your broken record. And then there's an instance where you slip up too. So I think as much as we can identify, hey, this activates me, yelling, cussing, do I have a way of enabling it? Do I enter into interactions? Do I kind of feed into it? Like checking yourself too, because this is again accountability. Like, am I doing it? Like, am I doing it? But it's okay that I do it, just not them. Like, so there's so many levels. But I will say this too. Or do you have another point before I go into do?
No, do it. Do your thing.
Okay, because now we talked about you and I statements. when we set up a script or have a conversation, one of my favorite acronyms to talk on is Dear Man. It is a DBT skill. It is a way that we approach a conversation. It could be boundary setting. It could be a lot of different things, but it is advocating for your needs and wants. And the acronym basically stands, Dear is its kind of own thing. And I like to say it's the meat and potatoes of the conversation. So D is describe. Describe what's going on. Should we use the banana or keep on with my yelling and cussing?
I love the banana.
Let's go back to the banana. Yelling and cussing's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it, so I also feel like a hypocrite.
Yeah, and then we're going to cuss more. And
I know.
so,
I feel like a weird. Okay, so the banana is, Maddie, you put the banana on the ground and I slipped on it. That's the facts of what happened. So facts always. No emotions, no anything else in that. Like, hey, Maddie, the banana was on the floor. I fell on it and I actually hurt myself. So you can say, if that happened in the moment, you can say like, hey, bruised my knee. Okay. The next one is express. E. Expressing is where the emotions come in. Hey, you dropped the banana. I feel like I maybe need to tell you this because I feel dysregulated when there's stuff that I can slip on in my space. I know. I'm like, how do I feel about this banana? I've had a past trauma with bananas, and I feel very sad, very scared in my own room right now. And this is like something I really need to kind of talk to you about.
I'm listening.
Yeah, I know. And then so we got the D, we got the E. Now A is assert. Assert is where the wants and the needs come in. Maddie, I need you to not leave bananas in my space or anything I can slip on because I am clumsy and this is going to help me in the long run and me not be activated or feel unsafe in my space.
Yeah.
And then the last one for this will be R, which is reinforce. Reinforce is a way to kind of, give and take.
Yeah.
But like, it's also showing if my needs are met, this is what's going to happen. So with that, Maddie, this is what I need. If that happens, Maddie, it'll show me you truly care about me. It'll show me that you respect my space. It'll show me you respect like what has happened to me in the past. And it'll make me feel a lot more comfortable having you here in my home because I know that I can trust that there won't be bananas left on the ground. So that's like me reinforcing, like saying, if my needs are met, this is what will happen.
Yeah.
And then the man on the other side is kind of like how you come into it. Like, what are you ready for? So that's kind of, M stands for mindfulness, where it's like, hey, am I having this conversation? And Maddie has bananas in her hands. And this is a little like, mindfulness is making sure we're coping ahead. We're setting ourselves up for success. We're staying in tune with ourselves, not coming in with judgment, not coming in with vulnerabilities, or just acknowledging that they're there. And then A is appearance too, like being confident. Eye contact, having kind of worked this out, bullet points if you needed to give it to them in a note, because that is a struggle for you, or do it in person. And then appearance, just obviously body language is everything too. I'll add that extra layer.
Yeah.
So giving that full body attention.
Yeah. I'm
like you're
open
giving
to this conversation.
Like you're giving
right?
to me. I'm kind of giving it to y'all
I'm
now.
receiving
Yes.
this.
So that's how you appear in the conversation. And then N is negotiate. Is there anywhere that I'm willing to negotiate with? Like, am I willing to say like, hey, we can have bananas outside of my house, but not here. Or maybe you have something that you bring to the table. Am I willing to negotiate where she's like, can I leave strawberries on the floor? And I'm like, yes, because I don't have a past trauma with strawberries. But seeing where you're open to kind of being that flexibility, like I said, boundary setting is not to be rigid. It's to say like, hey, am I willing to give in to this? Not given, I don't like that word. Am I willing to be flexible with this? Yes. Or is this something like, nope, I could even see the strawberries dysregulating me. So I don't think that's going to make me comfortable. Is that a make it or break it for you for us to continue on in this relationship? Yeah. And then it's okay. Letting go of people that don't respect you.
Surrender, baby.
That don't respect you, but then also maybe like had that good encounter with you, but this is something that they're not willing to. Maybe you're like, I'm a messy person. You're a clumsy person. Like there's like a dynamic that we can't find a even ground. And that's okay.
Right.
Because it might be like, you could still respect me, I think in some ways, but like can go through this whole encounter and we just not work in the dynamic.
And that would be fine. Right. But, coming from, somebody who actually is your friend and loves being in here with you, and I do respect her, I would absolutely be like, you know what, Taylor,
no bananas, no
I'm
strawberries.
going to need your help because I'm total banana cuckoo for bananas all the time. I'm Donkey Kong. I want them here. I want to eat them all the time. This is funny. This is great. But you know what? I love this friendship, and I think I would rather have this friendship than my bananas. So I am willing
There we go.
to eat those bananas outside.
Yeah.
Okay. I am not
Before I
willing.
come.
I'm not willing to give up bananas in entirety because they are important to me. You know?
And I think that is when it comes down to it, when you have someone you truly care about, like you said, this is a relationship we want to keep going. You have those kind of negotiations in your head of like, where am I willing like to bend that I'm not breaking? We're not trying, like, don't break for people. Like it's, and I know you talked about this last episode of getting to that like crashing out space. Yeah. Staying so in tune. And again, we set these boundaries. Maybe we keep coming back to it. Maybe Maddie's been eating the bananas and then has slowly started to trickle to bring them back into my space. She needs to hold me
accountable.
I need to hold her accountable for what we've set because that's going to be a part of it.
And that's why I've just the word fluid feels real good in my head and in my body when you say it because it's like so many things can be true at the same time, right? 2 things, 3 things, 1,000 things, they can all be true. It doesn't have to mean, where anyone's at fault, right? Or somebody has to be blamed. Yep. It's all about this fluidity, this willingness. Yep. That's how we keep relationships healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we're in the space to say, I've heard so many people say like, well, not how you said it. When you were talking about you and your partner, not fighting, that sounded very like healthy in how you were approaching it. But the people who are like, everything's good all the time. We're never uncomfortable. It's great. I'm like, I really hope that's true, but I just know it's not.
Yeah.
Because there has to be discomfort to have a successful relationship.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that getting to that space of being able to have hard conversations, it's practice makes perfect. I will say you brought up like my partner and we've done a lot of work, and that was with him too. Like him not feeling like, I was like, hey, this is just a conversation.
Right.
It was like, you're not in trouble. We're not in trouble. Yeah. Like I'm not leaving. Right. Oh my gosh. That fear of abandonment comes up so much. I know we talked about all the things that come up for us. And sometimes we're scared of doing wrong because we're scared of being left, scared of not being accepted. So realizing what's happening, I think within you, we talked about awareness all like last episode, but that's step 1. So don't be like, okay, I can boundary set right away. No. See what your motivation that has been keeping you from there.
Right.
Start to kind of analyze where you need to kind of start setting them with people that you trust, working with a therapist to do it first.
Yep.
Maybe starting and practicing with safe people where you're like, I already have healthy relationships or dynamics here. I'm going to start boundary setting here.
Right.
And then starting to take on those big ones.
Right. Where you really need your bouncer with you.
You really need your bouncer. And that bouncer is so practiced and so ready. But then that's mindfulness of it. Like, and then, hey, if it doesn't work, being okay with that and being like, okay, this is what happened here, not giving up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I want to encourage everyone is just don't give up, because we all deserve, as humans, to just live more authentically in a world that doesn't, necessarily always promote that. And I will say, like you talked about showing up and just like everything's all good and go lucky. I think about social media, like being like that. Ooh. And just being like authentic on there. And because that's what people see. And then they're like, oh, like the best life.
Yeah. Oh no, it never is. Right. And I could go into a whole personal thing on that, but that's not what this is about. Yeah. But it could be, but we won't get into it. Yeah. There was something else that I like practice. Yeah. I love that you brought that into the space, because that is where we start.
Yeah.
Is practicing. It's knowing that this is not something inherent, right? We're not born like with this part of our brain that just like knows how to set boundaries, right? Like obviously there are somatic responses to boundaries being violated.
Yeah.
And that is why awareness is so important, because when we are aware of our body's response and reaction to what is happening, we can kind of start to tell, like, is this a boundary that's being crossed?
Yeah.
Am I
Is there
aware?
danger? Like, is there things?
Yeah. Yeah. And it all comes together beautifully if we could just start with awareness and practicing. If we could give you two things to start with, it's those two.
Yeah. And I think, like, again, this is like a very important topic, because I know we talked about this is surface level boundaries. There's obviously so many like further things when we're talking about our needs being met. And so going into it further is something maybe we can explore more together.
Yeah.
But I will say this with that practice note, we want to put that in your hands today and kind of leave y'all with some therapeutic homework, because what kind of fucking therapist would we be if we didn't give y'all some,
episode homework, not a session.
Yeah, no.
But episode homework.
Yeah,
you wanna
episode
give them
homework.
their homework.
I know. Where is it?
Did we not write it down?
Did we print it out?
Oh, we didn't. So I think, do you want me to say it? I
Yeah,
don't
go
remember
for it. Oh, yeah.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what we want for y'all to do is a boundary setting experiment for yourself. Last week, we were like, hey, where are we noticing these symptoms showing up? So maybe you did a little bit of that homework. Now, maybe we set that practice into play of setting maybe a little boundary.
Little, tiny,
Tiny. Like I said, even if it's more of an internal boundary or with someone, like I said, a safe space to start off with, maybe it is saying, hey, I know we talked about like maybe like social media or feeling dysregulated in the climate that we're in right now. It's like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and maybe shift like how much access I have to the
TikTok.
news,
Yeah.
TikTok, certain things, setting a little phone boundary, maybe setting, oh my gosh, one of my favorite ones was I work from home a lot of the time. And I was like, okay, I'm not taking my work into my bedroom anymore.
Love that.
I was like, I need to not do that because I need to keep my work in my office to kind of split those spaces up.
Right.
So seeing like, hey, where is a little boundary I can set for myself? And we'd love to hear about it. If y'all want to DM us on Instagram, if y'all want to, that would be amazing just to kind of hear y'all's feedback on how it was going and keeping in tune with it.
And I think, if you're even our friends, if you're listening, like send us a voice memo of how it went. Because we'd love to, with your permission, of course, like share it. And just kind of like hear the feedback on how it was and what you experienced and trying to set some boundaries. Because this is like where this is where the solution comes into play. And the solution isn't always fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't always feel awesome, right?
Yeah.
But it works. And I keep saying that. I keep going back to that. And I just want to really get it across to you, beautiful listeners, beautiful, unhinged, messy humans. This worked for me. This is working for me. This thought process, this idea, this thing that we're explaining has like truly started changing my life over this last year. Like my whole life has changed because I've learned about this stuff, and I haven't stopped learning and I haven't stopped trying because I have slipped up many times. I've found myself back in the triangle. I found myself not respecting other people's boundaries, not respecting my own boundaries.
Big deal.
And yeah, this stuff has been life-changing for me. And so this isn't me just being a therapist right now. This is me being a human. We practice what we preach, and it has been painful. It's been a painful journey learning about this stuff, and I wouldn't change it. I would rather know about this and make these life-altering changes, which again, you don't have to make any life-altering changes today.
Those little things,
unless you want
baby
to.
steps.
But yeah, maybe talk over with your therapist first.
Maybe just make that therapist appointment first.
Make the therapist appointment. But yeah, start with these baby steps, and you would be so surprised as to where this takes you in your life. And the relationships, the quality of your relationships.
Quality, and the quality of your life.
Gonna improve.
Yeah. I will say, like, talking on this with you today, because this has been 2 parts in one day, it just like it had me kind of in tune with some things, and I just appreciate you for being here today and coming and being unhinged with me.
I love it. This is my favorite thing to do. I
will say this, obviously, just wrapping up. I know I don't even think we talked about next episode after this, but I actually think I'm just gonna take a leap here.
Do it.
I think dating a therapist. What does that mean?
Oh,
What
yes,
it's
we
like.
talked about
Yeah, this is one of the
this.
ones we talked about, and I think that would be a good kind of next, a little more lighthearted,
Yeah.
type of episode. And I think that's a good one because it's like, what is it like to be in a relationship with their therapist, but also have as a friend, being friends with other therapists? What is kind of that dynamic? Because I think a lot of our listeners are going to be in this mental health field. And I know a lot of my friends, obviously
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
are in the field too. And remember, this is our couch. So things we come and encounter with the therapist journey. So
And I'm so excited for that and curious because I think my husband was your partner were talking last night, and he had said they'd mentioned something about
this
oh, she
episode.
says that to me all the time, and we were like, episode.
She does that to you?
Yeah, and we were like,
she does that to you
"Ooh."
too?
I'm like, do I really want to hear what this is like?
I know. We might actually have them do like a little kind of, we'll put a little segue point. I don't think having them on here, but necessarily, but like having them kind of do a little voice notes to us of like, or them together.
Or we could like give them a piece of like with some questions and have them like answer some questions for us.
Oh, that would be cute.
That would be cute.
We'll talk to them and see what their comfortability is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely want them to have a voice in it. And then even just kind of talking on to like what I've heard back from like my friends and stuff.
What it's like to
definitely have heard some stuff. So.
And that's okay.
And that is okay.
We are also human.
Because they set a boundary with me.
Same. Don't
and I'm aware.
do that. Don't therapize me.
I know.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate you guys. That was an amazing 2 episodes for this. And again, we will circle back because all of these things can be touched on. It would be very uncurious of us to not circle back.
These are all building blocks, stepping stones, and this work builds off of itself.
Yep. So my babes, stay unhinged, stay loving and caring and curious. Make that unhinged, leap into that boundary void and just start to see where you need to start setting it. And like I said, baby steps.
Baby steps. Go set a tiny boundary. Go take a walk. Think about those boundaries.
Go look in that mirror and say that broken record statement. Say no. And it's okay.
Go visualize that bouncer that stands in front of you.
Yeah, maybe draw him.
Draw him.
Or her.
Her. Or
her.
it.
Or it.
Or it could be an animal. It could, whatever you want.
Yeah,
guys.
Spiritual bouncer animal.
Spiritual bouncer animal. Badass. I love that.
We will talk to you soon, guys. Bye.
Bye.